There are many allegations in the media as to what started the current conflict in Israel. For example, an attempt by settlers to remove Arab families from their homes in the Sheikh Jarrah district of East Jerusalem. But are these allegations accurate? Let's consider some key pieces of information. First, rioting in Jerusalem started on the 13th of April at the beginning of Ramadan, as reported here in these excerpts from a World Israel News report on the 18th of April. Second, Israeli police were accused of trying to stop Muslims celebrating after prayers. And yes, they did set up barriers where people normally met outside the Damascus Gate, but that was an attempt to minimize the risk of spreading the coronavirus. After a couple of weeks, police acknowledged the mistake and removed the barriers. Third, one of the main accusations was the one about removing Arab families from their homes in Sheikh Jarrah. But listen to the explanation in this clip from Sky News Australia's Bolt report on the 12th of May, which featured an interview with Melanie Phillips.
What actually started this? Now, I heard one reporter claim, incorrectly I believe, like so much reporting on Israel, that it all started because a Jewish or an Israeli court wants to take the houses of 4 Palestinian families in East Jerusalem, take those houses off them and give them to Jews. What's the truth behind this allegation?
Every part of this narrative is a complete lie, and it's a lie that's being fed to Western media audiences in Britain, in America, in Australia and elsewhere. On the specific claim about these houses in Sheikh Jarrah, this neighborhood in Jerusalem, the situation is this. These Palestinian Arab residents are the tenants of an Israeli Jewish organization which owns the properties. The predecessor tenants, Arab tenants, have always been, have also been the tenants of an Israeli Jewish organization because the properties in question have been in Jewish legal ownership really since the middle of the 19th century, with one big exception, which was the period between 1948 and 1967, when Jordan illegally occupied these territories and illegally sequestered the land, expelled all the Jewish inhabitants, expelled the Jewish residents of these houses, and sequestered the territory, sequestered the properties. Subsequently, when Jerusalem was reunified by the Israelis, Jews returned to ownership, legal, rightful ownership of their properties. They still had Arab tenants. The Arab tenants agreed in writing that the Jews were entitled to own these properties. What's produced this threatened eviction of these tenants is that they are refusing to pay their rent and instead are illegally expanding their properties. In other words, it's a rent dispute between landlord and tenant. The idea that this caused this conflagration is ludicrous.
Fourth, the Israelis have also been accused of preventing elections by not allowing Palestinians to vote in Jerusalem. Yet this article by Al Jazeera reveals a very different view on the part of Hamas and others. It says, during the last Palestinian election, East Jerusalem residents cast ballots on the outskirts of the city and thousands voted in post offices, a symbolic move agreed to by Israel. So why was it not good enough for this year's elections to go ahead on the same basis? Fifth, then there is the accusation of police violence against worshippers in the Al-Aqsa compound. But an Israeli government press release shows evidence of extremists agitating for violence rather than worshipping in the compound. Sixth, a telling factor is that Hamas launched missiles towards Jerusalem during a day of celebrations, Jerusalem Day. Opponents have claimed the parades were just supported by right-wing Jewish extremists, but this clip from an I-24 news report shows that there were many children in the crowd when the air raid sirens sounded.
I can just report so far that we're hearing the siren and people are running for shelter. We just heard a loud boom, and now we're hearing another loud boom as well, active in Jerusalem as well.
Wow, these are just incredible pictures we're seeing, Emily.
For shelter. These are images of people running for shelter. That's what's happening. You can see we heard a loud boom, and they're telling the crowd now to find shelter.
Seventh, the reality of Jerusalem Day is not a celebration of conquest, but a celebration of reunification of the city after it was divided by Jordanian conquest in 1948, as shown in this clip from a documentary.
The War of Independence lasted for 7 months. Israel was victorious, except in Jerusalem. The Jewish quarter of the Old City could not hold out against overwhelming opposition and ultimately fell to Jordanian legionnaires. At first, the city sustained only minor damage, but after Jewish nationalists surrendered to the victorious Jordanians, real destruction began to occur. Arab militants looted synagogues, schools, and homes, then began dynamiting structures in the Jewish quarter.
These 7 missing pieces from the main media coverage indicate that it was not the Israelis who started this conflict.